I hope you can see my screen now. Good. Well, I will show you an example of the extraction of invoices received. So that would be vouchers. And well, you can set up this tool for both for received invoices, but also for the invoices that you issue, so your sales invoices and your purchase invoices. And this tool, so yeah, I will run it for received invoices. You can run it in proof or final mode. So when it's in proof, you can see there are any error messages or missing data in your invoice. If the text format is correct. So I'll first run it in proof over 2 invoices, and I expect to receive an error for one of those invoices. Run it in proof mode first, and we'll indicate the invoice number. You normally don't have to specify the invoice number when you run this extractor report, because you would usually run it over a period of time, and then all the invoices specified company in that period would be picked by the extractor. So, but in this example, I will just run it for 2 invoices to avoid running out of demo data in this environment. In the processing options, the only thing that the user would need to update is the date range for the extraction. The rest of the options would remain constant. And you see the last processing option indicates whether you run it in proof or final mode. In this case, I leave it in proof. And I will show you the output as it finishes running. So you will see that 2 UBEs were launched. So the export UBE, and then I also got an error report. So I will first open the output of the extractor to show how it looks like. And this would be for the invoice that did not present any errors. This is how the text file created by the extractor would look like. It is it's plain text, and we can verify. Well, if you're familiar with the format, you can verify if it's correct or not. And we'll show you the error report and see what was wrong with the other invoice. And if I maximize here, I can see that this invoice number, this voucher 3477, is missing the tax ID of the vendor in our master data. So what I would do is correct that, and then I will run the extractor again in final mode. Let's see. Let's go and see our supplier. This is the supplier I'm using in my example, and we see that the tax ID is blank. So that's why the extractor issued an error message. So we'll now enter the tax ID for this I have a valid Spanish tax ID. What we'll do now is I will run it again, but this time I will run it in final mode because I want to create a text file. The text file that is generated the extractor, it will be saved in an FTP folder, and VTP, it will be sent to our partner series, who also validate if the file is correct. And if the case, it will convert the text file into XML file, and it will send it to the Spanish tax authority. Spanish tax authority will also validate the format and the data contained in the XML file, and if everything is correct, it will send a reply back to CERES saying that the file was approved, and then CERES will convert that XML message into a text file, and then we can import it from the FTP folder. In the case that the invoice is not accepted by the Spanish tax authority, we will also get a reply via an XML file sent to CERES. CERES will convert into text file, and then we can import that reply into G. Let me show you the output now. Now I got a second PDF file, which is the file export of this. Shows that there are no errors in the creation of the file, and we get a run number generated. And I can also see the destination directory where the text file was created. I also get to see the name of that file if I want to it. This tool also provides an interactive application to review, to trace all the files that were generated and the replies that were received from the tax authority. So we'll do a query here. This is the application that has a traceability of all the files, the invoices sent to the tax authority. So there is a status column that will tell you, what is the status of that invoice. So the status S means that it was sent, and there is not yet a reply. And the status Y means that we received a reply from the tax authority and the invoice has been approved. So no further action is expected from us regarding that invoice. Then the R means that it has been rejected. So you can see on the columns on our right, there's an error code that was issued by the tax authority, and there's also a description of that error. In this case, this error says that the invoice number is duplicate, which is something not allowed by the Spanish tax authority. So let's see. I will now let me see what's the invoice number we got. Hold on. 536. Okay. Our run is 536, the last one. What we'll now do is I will import any files containing replies for the invoices that I sent to the tax authority. I will run a different report now. Data selection or processing options to set up by the user is just a report that will verify the IP folder, and if there are any files in that folder, it will try to import those files into JE, and then let's see the output of that report. Hopefully there is already a reply. Oh yes, I see one there. So there's a reply, and there are two replies, error and one not error. So let's see now how our invoices, if we read the, we'll see the status of our invoice changed. Now it looks like we received a different reply for another invoice. Maybe reply for our invoice is not yet ready. So this is how the extractor works. So we have a report to send the invoices to Ceres, and then we have a report to import the replies. And well, we have this interactive application to trace all the invoices sent and the replies received and what is the status of those invoices. In case we receive an error, we need to correct or take any actions depending on what the error is, and then we can send the invoice again to the authority. It's also a possibility that the invoice is completely. There are two kinds of rejection from the Spanish tax authority. If it's completely rejected, then you have to enter a new invoice. You cannot send that invoice. In the case of already processed invoice, it is also possible to well, to modify information if for some reason we send wrong VAT rate, or yeah, or if there's something wrong that invoice, we can modify, send a modification to the tax authority, and we can also cancel an invoice if for some reason we needed to void invoice. Then if it was already sent and approved by the Spanish tax authority, we can still send that void to the tax authority with this option. And that ends